Welcome to the Money Over 50 podcast, brought to you by Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue from Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. This information is general in nature and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Therefore, you should consider whether the information is appropriate for you and your personal circumstances. If you require personal advice, please contact Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. Here are your hosts, Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue.
Welcome to Money Over 50. Today, Michael, your topic is save for your retirement, just like building the Lego Titanic, one brick at a time. It sounds like there's a story here. I'm sure this didn't just pop fully formed into your head.
Thanks, Dallas. We've been, my son Richie, who's 6, is a ocean liner fanatic. Not a ship, not a cruise ship. He loves ocean liners.
Yeah.
And the most famous, of course, beautiful ocean liner is the Titanic. But he knows the other ones as well. He knows the RMS Olympic, the Britannic, which sunk as well, the Lusitania. There's a lot that he knows.
Yeah.
He loves Lego, loves ocean liners. For his birthday, we bought him the 9,090 piece Lego Titanic. So it's the hugest box we've ever had of Lego.
Isn't it amazing how, like, with little kids, it's always so easy to get something for them for their birthday?
Yeah.
They have so many things that they're more excited about than any adult is ever excited about. He's more excited about ocean liners than about anything else that you and I could get excited about.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of this Titanic. So it's been a long build. And it got me to thinking, sometimes we're guilty, even in our game, Dallas, of actually trying to quantify things 10 years in advance.
Yep. Absolutely.
And it's not to say that you shouldn't have a plan to do that. You should. You should actually have a plan to do that.
Yep.
It's just that the other way to look at it is to control what we can control right now.
Yep.
And that's one brick at a time. You do that one brick at a time. So how we've built the 9,000 piece Lego Titanic is one brick at a time. We didn't think too far ahead and think that we wanted to finish it in a month or 2 months or 6 months. It has taken about 6 months.
Yeah, right.
well, it's just because of soccer training and school and all those other things that you have to do.
You have been at work in that time as well.
And work.
You haven't just just been building a Lego Titanic.
So it got me thinking. So we've enjoyed it. It's coming to an end. It's huge. It's 1.2 meters long. It's going to be. It's never getting taken apart. It's got its own. It's going to have its. We're about to move back into our renovated house. It's going to have its own table.
Yeah,
this
right.
thing, a sideboard.
Yeah.
And it's going to be on display forever.
Yeah.
But
I just imagine Richie using that as a way to impress girls when he's in his late teens. Come and have a look at my Lego Titanic
that I built when I was 6. So no, he's a good little builder. He reads the instructions. He calls the instruction manual the newspaper.
Yeah.
So that's him reading the newspaper. But it got me to thinking. Just do the little things, one brick at a time. So I thought we'd start with a couple of things. So where do you start? If you're listening to the Money Over 50 podcast, this is the first podcast you've listened to, and you're just starting your journey on retirement planning. Where do you look? Where do you start? Like, how can you make a start this week? The first thing that I'd start with is asset allocation, or otherwise known as investment policy or investment strategy. So what I'm talking about there is having a look at the money that you have already invested in superannuation usually. Look at where that's actually invested. Now, a lot of people would say to me, it's with Australian Super. And I'd just like to point out that there's very different investment strategies inside every single superannuation fund. So if I look at the Australian Super High Growth Fund, over the average rate of return over the last 10 years to the 30th of June 2022, the Australian Super High Growth Funds returned 10.28% per annum. The Australian Super Stable investment strategy fund. So the same brand, the same logo, the same everything has returned 5.67%. So recognise that what you have inside superannuation is packaged into a mix of assets, and some of those assets are lower returning and some are higher returning. Should you put all of your money into the high growth option? No, you shouldn't. But you should investigate it.
Yep.
You should investigate it because there's a very big difference in the outcome of someone over the last 10 years who's averaged a 10% rate of return.
Yes. Compared
to someone that's averaged only 5% rate of return. That rate of return has done quite a bit of the heavy lifting for one person and less of the heavy lifting for the other person.
Yep.
So that's a place to start. The second place to start is just try and find some money each pay to put into your superannuation fund. Now, again, we run the risk here of giving personal advice because ASIC would say it may not be appropriate for everyone to put yada, yada, yada funds into superannuation.
Yep. That's right, but
sue me for trying to make you more money. But go. There's a couple of podcasts here.
It's one of those things you go, investigate this.
This
is just the low.
So the general advice warning is don't take this as personal advice. Make sure you investigate it further. It may not be suitable for you.
But it is the logical next progression. I agree completely. If you look at it as those two things of you already have some money in your superannuation fund.
Yep.
Have a look at how that is invested.
Have a look at how that's invested.
Part two is, okay, you want more money in your superannuation fund, conceivably. Again, after more investigation, have a think about how to best add and how much you can add.
So a little cross-promotion here for the Money Over 50 podcast. Again, if you haven't listened to all of the podcasts, go back to episode 88. It's called Turning $100 per week into $100,000. So in that podcast episode 88 of the Money Over 50 podcast, look, we go into detail of how $100 per week put into your superannuation fund can turn into $100,000 in a little over 10 years. So it's about 11 years from memory that it took for that to happen. And episode 3...
Mate, this is one of the all-time bangers of the Money Over 50 podcast.
Episode 3, drive a $15,000 car to draw an extra $117,000 of income during retirement. So, again, won't go into the full details of that, but if you instead of continually paying off a car or leasing a car or hire purchasing a car or whatever you do, at the average cost of about $15,000 per year in repayments. Look, if you just fully owned a lower cost car, and instead of paying $15,000 a year in car repayments for the last 15 years of your working life, if you put that $15,000 a year into your superannuation fund, look, you can accumulate over an extra $300,000 in super, and put to work and run out over the next 25 years in your retirement. You can actually draw an extra $717,000 of income in retirement. So again, we won't go into the full details of that. But
I apologise in advance for the sound quality of that episode number 3. It was a very very obviously the third podcast in the whole series. But
I listened to the start of it yesterday just to when I was preparing for this.
Yeah,
gee, we've come a long way.
but
in sound
quality, it's amazing.
Yeah.
They talk about evergreen content where you go. That is a podcast that. We find, we look at our numbers of which podcasts people are listening to and not listening to. That's one that is consistently that really resonates with people and I think there's something in that where it is just a one thing at a time. It's not like a whole big picture. Here's the 10-year. It's just a decision, one decision about what do you do regarding a car upgrade or not. That can make such a huge difference. I think that sort of makes the point where it's like, it's not saying how much do you need to save every year for the next 15 years. It's just saying when you've got a car that's fully paid off and you think should I upgrade, that's the next decision to make, and that's the impact that it can have. But.
Yeah, so there's 2 bricks there, two big bricks, one brick at a time. Look at where your money is actually invested, the pie chart of where it is in your existing superannuation fund. one of the first things to look at inside of that is how much money is tied up in cash and fixed interest. We know that that's very low returning.
Yep.
Now, it may be there for a reason, and you may decide that you need that for a reason, but other people decide it's lazy money, it's wasted money. I have enough cash in my bank account outside of superannuation, so they would choose to apply more of that to higher growth investments inside of their superannuation fund. And the second brick is trying to find some money to add to your super fund each pay.
Yep.
And there's a couple of things there. Episode 88, turning $100 per week into $100,000. Go back and listen to that. Episode 3, drive a $15,000 car to draw $717,000 extra income during retirement. One of these days, that episode 3 will have the Dolby D beside it. It'll be re-engineered in Dolby sound, because when you go back and listen to that, just bear in mind it was episode 3 for us. Yeah. We were still learning about sound quality and things like that.
It's I think there's the overarching theme of this podcast is a really great one, and there's a phrase that I've read somewhere. I think it actually might be from Alcoholics Anonymous, like type handbook thing, which is just do the next right thing. And so, whenever you're approaching something that seems like an unassailable, big issue, you don't actually have to resolve the problem 10 years down the road always.
No.
You can just do what's the next right thing, the next best thing that I need to work on next. It applies to your health. Like every year, I think we all go through the whole thing of I'm going to make these drastic changes to my lifestyle. If every day we just woke up and went, right, I'm going to do the next right thing. What's the next right thing for me to eat? What's the next right thing for me to do in terms of exercise?
Yeah.
You can really make a huge difference. And that's where I think you say some of these podcasts to go back and listen to is that it doesn't have to be a huge all or nothing change. It is just a thing that you can make a huge change to your financial position just one brick at a time.
Thank you for listening to the Money Over 50 podcast with Money Over 50 financial advisors. For more information and resources, visit the Money Over 50 website, mo50.com.au. We look forward to catching up again soon.